Well, I concur. Shannon, one of my favorite quotes from one of your movies, Love Actually, was from Sam at the end when he goes, let's get the shit kicked out of us by love. And, Simon, what you said earlier kind of goes to what you just said, Shannon. It's like, at the end of the day, like we all just want to be loved and we want to know that, we know how to love. And I didn't realize how complex this issue was, to be honest with you. I'm like reading about it like while you're talking, and it's super, super complex. I guess my question is, I have a neighbor. I always just, it rubbed me the wrong way. Like you go into his house, he has like a zebra rug. He has like, he's a hunter, he's a sportsman. I like to fish, but I don't hunt. I don't hunt with a gun or anything like that. That's not my thing. It just always rubbed me the wrong way. Like he thought it was really cool. And I was just like, nah. And like, I didn't make him think that this, like, I thought that this was like a big deal. Like he didn't have rhino heads or anything, but I get that feeling like it would be cool to him or something. And so I guess my question is, like, he's going to Africa later this year, I think, to hunt for like 5 days. Is there anything that I could be saying to him? And what would you wish for, just the sportsman or the hunting industry in general, I guess?
I mean, does he have a dog or a cat by chance?
He does, a beautiful dog. And yes, he does. Yeah.
So we call it speciesism because what he's doing is saying that some animals are okay to live and because they're cute and furry and I want to have them here. But if I didn't think that, I would cut my dog's head off and hang it on the wall and that would be okay. Like there's nothing okay about doing it with any animal. And I had an issue when I came out here because every lodge you go into, you've got rugs and you've got heads on the wall. And I'm like, I'm here to go on safari to see living animals. So why are there dead animals around? And I think unfortunately it's part of a very old tradition that's part of colonialism, I believe. And it's time that it ends. But I think the other question is, what is it you like about hunting? That's what I would ask him. Because some people say, oh, well, it was a chance to go out with my dad and bond. It was bonding time. Great. Take some cameras with your dad and go bond with him with taking photos. You don't have to have bloodshed. I think hunters don't really have great explanations of what it is why they like bloodshed and why they want to hunt. And for me, I mean, there's very few people that I have been able to call a friend that I also know have such opposite ethics to mine. Like that's not something I would ever do or condone. And they're just people that I really can't be around, but I want the opportunity to change their mind. And I think it's finding out what it is about hunting that he likes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Shan's hit the nail on the head. It's what motivates you. Is it the experience of being out there with your friends and family, creating memories? And if there had to be a hierarchy, would you rather be out in the African wilderness by yourself and bring back an elephant's head and put it on your wall that only you can see? Or would you rather go to Africa with your dad or your brother or your mom, your sister, and have an incredible experience and be able to take home 1,000 photographs from that? It's the hierarchy of need. I often get people say, the hunting is, well, it's my tradition. But I mean, let's be honest, tradition is just peer pressure from dead people. There's just because someone has a tradition and says, my father did this and his father before him. Okay, great. We've all got to change. We've all got to realize that, there's certain practices in society that are archaic and that are not okay anymore. And we've got to consistently reevaluate society to make sure that we're living in the best possible version of ourselves in relation to each other and the natural world. Electric cars, travel, fossil fuels, the list goes on. Single-use plastics, the works. We've all got to reevaluate what we traditionally believe to be right and our right to participate in these things. And the one thing that I would consider is like Frank and I were chatting earlier, is that when they go to Africa, don't ask questions when you know the answer that you're going to get is the answer that you want. Be brave enough to ask tough questions and be brave enough to go, holy crap, I didn't know I was contributing to that. Don't use this as a hunting trip. Use this as a learning trip. Go out there and try and really understand. Don't find the answers you want to hear. Be a fully functioning adult with thumbs and find the answers that confuse you and that challenge you, and then interrogate them a little bit more.
Yeah, and me coming from, being the softer female here, I would also, because this will be a bit like maybe girly, but I would also like to add that when you look at these animals, I would challenge somebody who hunts to not look at them as just this thing there, but look at the whole herd. If it's elephants, look at the way they interact and how there's a family unit there, and they have like emotions. And if you take one elephant out of that herd, it could affect the entire family unit. And I was talking to someone earlier today who, when we were talking, he thought he saw a rat and he freaked out. And I was like, but you know that, like, they're scared. First of all, they're running, they're scared. We're huge next to them. I go, but I also like to think of, especially with animals that I don't particularly want to be around, like a snake. I also like to think, they have families. They have someone waiting for them at home. Maybe they've gone out to hunt and they're expected back. And you start thinking of it in a different way. It's learning about the animal, learning about how they act with each other. I mean, we saw this with wild dogs when we were in Botswana. Somebody was explaining to us what was happening when we were watching this whole interaction with wild dogs. And had I not heard what they were saying, I would have just seen a bunch of dogs running around. But they explained to me, there's a babysitter that stays back with the young ones, and then there's this, and they eat first, and then the babysitter eats last. And it all started to make sense, because you're watching that. Now they are wild dogs to me that I'm starting to understand, and not just these like dogs that are in the bush, and I think it matters.
Phenomenal. Our cleanup hitter,